ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामी नामने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारण विशेष कम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुम दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्येश्वरम हरि ओम तत्सत्। हरे कृष्ण। Thank you. The 9-10 of you who have come are truly serious. This is the third class of the week. So thank you all very much. Of discussion of Sadhana and Sadachar, we have started this series to discuss about the practice of Krishna consciousness, practice the aspects of sadhana, the aspects of Sadachar, especially these two: proper culture, etiquette, behavior, and also important aspects of sadhana. So I'm going to continue our discussion of the Vaishnava etiquette manual. Let me share the screen and we will walk through this. Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes, Prabhu, you can see.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, we need to continue from the dancing part. I'm not sure whether the dancing part we discussed, but the Kirtan part, I remember a bit that we have discussed this. If anybody recollects, just want to confirm my understanding is also correct. Okay, so silence means yes. So I will continue from the part on dancing. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Normally in a spiritual sadhana discussion, somebody says we are going to be discussing today about dancing. Persons will normally laugh. They'll say, what is this dancing? In a spiritual context we are discussing. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. This is the beauty of bhakti, that all wonderful expressions of joy can be so beautifully accommodated within the culture of bhakti. Not just accommodated, but can actually be essential elements of devotional expression. And we'll see that all aspects of socially enjoyable activities, whether it is be about talking, whether it be about eating nicely, whether it be about mixing with and socializing with others, whether it be about singing, about dancing, about traveling, all these activities can be Krishnized in such a way that both our material propensity for these activities will be satisfied, and simultaneously we'll make spiritual advancement by connecting these activities to Krishna. So similar with dancing. So the devotional shastras encourage devotees, sadhakas, to dance in front of the deities. So I'm going to go through this point. Now, those who are familiar with ISKCON temples and ISKCON culture, I think this is not a news for you, and I think most of you have been to ISKCON temples. And in most bhakti movements and bhakti traditions, you will see this, where devotees dance in front of the Lord in a very graceful way. And as they are dancing, they are chanting the names of the Lord very loudly. And in a very graceful way, they are doing a devotional dance, where through that dance, they are expressing their devotional sentiments of love and surrender towards the Supreme Lord. So this is a very beautiful way. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his incarnation, this world, is especially to establish the Sankirtana process. Now, we speak a lot about chanting the holy names, chanting Hare Krishna. Yes, chanting the holy names and giving the holy names was definitely the key part. But in terms of the process itself of how to chant the holy name, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu put more emphasis on congregationally coming together and singing and dancing while chanting the holy names as the prime process. In fact, the Bhagavad Puran concludes with the verse Nama Sankirtanayasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranami Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Param. I bow down to the Supreme Lord Hari, by whose Sankirtan of whose holy names one can counteract and destroy all sins and contaminations. So Sankirtana is the Yuga Dharma. And Sankirtana is Samyak Kirtana. Kirtana means singing and glorification, but complete singing and glorification. The completeness comes when we not only engage our tongue and ears, but our whole body. Samyak. Samyak in Sanskrit means complete. Samyak Kirtan, it is Sankirtan. And that is why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized that, because in Kali Yuga it's so easy for the mind to get distracted. Better than Japa is Kirtan, better than Kirtan is Sankirtan. Because Sankirtan is engaging of the whole body in the process of glorifying the Lord. And also because Sankirtan usually is congregationally done by many devotees coming together, the energy, the devotional energy that congregational effort creates has a very great transformative power. And such kirtans have very strong purificatory potency for those who are involved, those who are connected, even those who see them, and for the place where such Sankirtan is performed. So this is just a short background of Sankirtan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced such Sankirtan, and with kartals and mridangas, he and his devotees chant the holy name and dance on the streets of Bengal, of Puri, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As they were dancing, they would raise their arms high and dance. So typically the dancing in Kirtan, especially the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught, often in the dancing, the arms are raised up. So one may be wondering why devotees raise their arms up and dance. So raising the arms up and dancing is an expression of calling out to the Lord and surrendering to Him. Correct? When Draupadi was helpless, being disrobed in the assembly of the Kurus, she put both her hands up and called out to Krishna, Hey Krishna, save me. I'm fully depending on you. So in the mood of Draupadi, the devotees call out the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Raising the arms into the air, loudly calling. In that way, we offer our very selves in surrender to the Lord. It's a very purifying activity. How many of you have, just want a quick, either you can show a thumbs up or a show of hand. If you show your hand, then you have to lower the hand again. But even a thumbs up should be adequate. I just want to know how many of you have participated in Sankirtan in an ISKCON setting and dancing to the chanting of the holy names. Okay, I think most of you have. So can I now ask who has not yet participated, because I can't see who has not. Okay, so Anita Mataji, what does the cross mean that you have not? You have. You are surprised. Okay. Okay, so I think everybody has. Has anybody not? Yes. Okay, Shalini ji. Okay. Okay, fine. So, but you have seen Shalini ji Kirtan, you have seen devotees chanting and dancing. I just want to make sure that when I'm talking about this, you can relate to what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's the reason why.
Yes, I have seen, but I what I meant is I have not participated personally.
Okay, fine. Rita ji, have you ever participated? I think she's not listening to the conversation.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have seen, but I have not participated.
Okay, fine. No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So for those who have not participated, I would strongly encourage you. Usually, either in temples always for any program, at the conclusion of the class, usually there will be a Sankirtan. As a part of the Arati, there will be a Sankirtan. On festivals, there will be a Sankirtan, especially because there will be many devotees gathering. On public festivals, Rath Yatras, there will be Sankirtan. So this is a very, very powerful means of devotional expression. Okay, so I just wanted to ensure that the context is right. Yeah, Shamala ji, I see your hand up also. So yes, thank you. Yes, so most of you are familiar. Okay, so I'll just go through these points and then we can discuss them as. Okay. So I'll just read through it, and of course, if there is any question, you can just ask me about it. Let me do this. I'll just quickly read through the section on dancing, and then we will have a quick discussion around it. And then if you have any question, we can. So one is Rupa Goswami, especially because why Rupa Goswami's name is mentioned? Because he has given in his books like Nectar of Devotion how the limbs of devotional service should be executed. He mentions that one should learn to dance in front of the deities. Now, even though it's not mentioned here, why we dance in front of the deities? Not to have a good time for ourselves. So the spirit of the dancing is very important. We are dancing in front of the Lord as an expression of our devotion for the pleasure of the deities. And that's why we have to dance with that consciousness. We are dancing to show our devotion to the Lord, to please Him. For example, let's say you come back to India after many years, and many of your friends and relatives have gathered at the airport to receive you. And if they really, really love you and if they have really, really, really missed you, as soon as you come out, what will happen? They'll look at you, they'll smile and they'll start jumping and dancing. Sometimes you see on the airport. Nowadays, not so common. Nowadays, people are quite cold. They'll just help you with the bag and take you to the taxi. Sometimes you will see this. And of course, the reason also is that nowadays such kind of a long separation is not there. Flights and all these things are so much more easier. You can see each other on video and WhatsApp chats and all the time. So it's not like how it used to be 20 years ago. But nonetheless, you see, and people are just so happy to see. And this sometimes may not happen for us, but for big stars, when people are waiting for them, for the cricket team, when they come after winning the World Cup, all the people waiting for them, how they jump up and down. So how happy a person will feels when he sees that there are others who have gathered in front of them who are so excited and happy to see them that they are jumping and dancing. So we have to understand that that is the spirit of the expression. That we are so happy to see the Lord, that we are jumping as a devotional offering, offering our happiness to see Him, offering ourselves to Him. Point two is that, yes, we want to do that, but at the same time, our dancing should be graceful and enthusiastic and not violent and wild. So again, this is a devotional expression. This is not a disco dance. It is not a break dance. Nor should it be the Bombay style Ganpati dance. So we have to be conscious that our dancing is graceful. And that is why, like point 3 mentions, dancing should be done in the traditional Gaudiya way as demonstrated by Srila Prabhupada. That is the standard. So right now, of course, I cannot demonstrate that to you, but I think since you have seen it in ISKCON temple, you would know. So I will just try to articulate it verbally. And you can see this in the picture in the PDF. The key point is that the devotees raise their hands up and they move their legs one by one across each other. The right leg across in front of the left leg, and then bring the right leg back into the normal position, and then the left leg swings across the right leg and then comes back. So there's a kind of a graceful swaying of both the hands and the legs. Nice synchronism. Preferably all devotees do it together as they are doing this kirtan, and the dancing is in tune of the kirtan. Sometimes dancing is not just done individually in synchronism, but also in formations. So devotees dance in formations. There are various formations. If you participate in ISKCON Kirtans, you would know there are 2-3 very common formations. I don't want to go into that in detail, but essentially sometimes devotees hold hands and go in circles, and they come close to each other, go back, again come close to each other very rhythmically as they are chanting the holy names. It's a very nice, beautiful feeling of connectedness. And also sometimes devotees form rows and go to and fro, come close to each other, go back, close to each other, go back. So like that, there are some different formations which are done, and all of this is fine. Again, all of this is done rhythmically to the tune of the kirtan. So this point 5, devotees should take care to see that the formations are maintained and they are in line. So of course, the idea again is that we have to maintain the discipline of dancing in the rhythm properly. While dancing in formation, devotees should raise their hands, hold hands as may be required. These are some things about dancing which should be avoided. So the key idea being, don't get overexcited, and rather than being devotional, get into the mode of passion. It's a devotional expression. Sometimes devotees start swinging their hands and legs so violently around that they end up slapping somebody, pushing somebody, somebody falls down. Sometimes devotees catch each other, toss each other into the air, and do all kinds of funny things. So again, it's not that all these things are written in the book or the scriptures. Don't do like this. But the essential point is we do everything in a gentle, elegant way, not in a violent, passionate way. I think that is the spirit. The other thing is Sankirtan, when devotees are performing Kirtan in front of the deities, it is not a spectator sport, which means it's not that everybody else is sitting down and watching while a few devotees are dancing. The whole idea is all of us should participate. And there's tremendous benefit in participation in the chanting of the holy names, in the congregational dancing while chanting the holy names. So all should participate. Of course, if somebody is unwilling, is very embarrassed because they have come to the temple first time, please don't force your guests. You can gently encourage, but if they're not comfortable, don't drag them. And sometimes we get so over enthusiastic, we want to drag and push somebody as if we are pushing them back to Godhead. So don't put others into a very uncomfortable situation, because sometimes it's a culture shock for some people when they first time come to an ISKCON temple. Kya kar rahe log? What is this they are doing? Because they are so used to a very sober environment, they cannot relate to an exuberant kirtan. They don't know what to make of it. Some people are actually pretty shocked. Of course, all of us were shocked initially and all of us were shy initially, but over time, we have overcome all that. So I think I've mentioned avoid dancing in ways that can cause injury to others, spinning, tossing, pushing excessively, and needless to mention, men and women dance in different sections of the hall. This is not an idea for men and women to dance together. That is not the idea here. Typically in kirtans, there is somebody leading the singing, and typically there is somebody leading the dancing also, either for the formation or for the to and fro. So there is somebody who's we should follow as we are synchronizing our dancing movement. So keep a watch and follow it. Otherwise, the whole kirtan gets into disarray. The perfect dancing is in Lord Chaitanya's style, with arms raised or folded arms, with enthusiasm and devotion. So typically in a kirtan, when the lead singer sings the Mahamantra, the whole congregation listens. So when we listen to the chanting of the holy name in the dancing kirtan, we should fold our hands and listen. Even as we are dancing, generally I'm saying this, generally we do that. And afterwards, when we follow, when we give the response to the kirtan, at that time we raise our hands and sing. So what does that mean? So let's say I am the lead singer and I'm singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if I'm participating in this kirtan, I'm folding my hands and listening to the lead singer singing, even though I may be dancing and moving to and fro. But when I am responding along with the rest of the congregation, in the dancing kirtan, we raise our hands. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Again, when the lead singer is singing and we are listening, we are folding our hands. Now, this is typical. So, I'm just explaining you typical way it is done. So, there may be slight differences from place to place, but this is the general idea. Okay, any questions on the dancing part? This section, okay, I think I can quickly go through the speech section also. Then we'll go to the other part. So speech is obviously a very, very important aspect of control for those who are serious about spiritual advancement. Speech is a very powerful sense. And the urge to speak is also very, very strong. And what does this mean? Whenever we get a chance to speak, we cannot control want to speak. But the Shastras say, the Acharyas say, that for those who are sadhakas, those who want to make advancement in spiritual consciousness, must control their speech in a way that they speak about Krishna and Krishna Katha and avoid speaking all kinds of nonsense. So nonsense in general, which means useless talk, is typically called as prajalpa. So prajalpa is born out of our material identification, our material conditioning, and that's why we must refrain from it. So what does prajalpa mean? Prajalpa means talking about useless mundane things, materialistic things, because those kind of discussions actually drain our devotional enthusiasm and make us attached to matter. And worst case, if that prajalpa is about criticism of others, then it can actually be harmful for our spiritual life. So one must be careful to refrain from it. Another aspect of avoiding prajalpa is not just about talking, but about listening, reading, watching, hearing, those things which are extremely materialistic and are not going to help us in our Krishna consciousness. Of course, this doesn't mean to say that the only thing we can speak from our mouth is Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. No, of course, in terms of our day-to-day life, whatever we need to do, either in our job, in our home, in the market, whatever life essential conversations, transactional conversations we need to do, yes. But devotees avoid unnecessarily getting absorbed through any medium. And nowadays, it may be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So the speaking tendency can be expressed in so many ways. So one is careful to avoid all such materialistic association, because this is also considered frivolous activity in the prajalpa category. So one should try to avoid. So Rupa Goswami advocates the process of Krishna Katha, talk of all subjects connected to Lord Krishna as a means to counteract the urge to speak. So what Rupa Goswami says is, if you are too interested in talking about other things, the way to fix this problem is by making an effort to discuss a lot about Krishna. When we go on talking about Krishna more and more and more, gradually it will counteract the tendency of the mind and the tongue to speak about materialistic subject matters. So that is the medicine. Also, another important point to ponder before we speak anything. This is a very good guiding principle. Before we speak anything, we should ask 3 questions. Is it necessary to speak this? What is the purpose of speaking something? If it is necessary, second, is it kind? Kind means even something is necessary, you should speak it in a right way. The way, the tone which is used, the language that is used must be kind. And whatever I am saying, is it right? Is it truthful? Is it correct? Which means don't spread fake news. Don't talk gossip. So it is a good guiding principle that whatever you speak should pass through these 3 filters. Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it right? And also, like what we mentioned earlier, prajalpa is degrading for the consciousness, but even more so, that conversation which offends or blasphemes the devotees is extremely dangerous. That's the first offense. The first offense against the holy name is to blaspheme or criticize the devotees who have dedicated their lives to chanting and spreading the holy names of the Lord. Yes. Because that actually affects and damages our devotional creeper very fast. So summarily, speech is a very, very important sense. Those who want to make advancement in Krishna consciousness should control the sense of speech. So controlling the sense of speech means two things. Speak Krishna Katha and don't speak gossip, unnecessary talk. Both. And for whatever is essential that we need to speak, which may not be necessarily directly Krishna conscious also, make sure we pass it through the filter of is it necessary, is it kind, and is it right. If we follow this, then we will be able to control the tendency to speak. And the way we train ourselves to develop this control is by engaging the speech as far as possible in glorifying the Lord and His devotees. Okay, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So I just want to add one point. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not sure whether I heard somewhere. I mean, when what is that? Is that general rule can be used? Is that I mean, when it comes to prajalpa and all these things which are positive and good about a person, it's okay to share. But when it comes to things which are negative, you should sort of abstain. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure whether I heard somewhere. Well, I just wanted to share that point. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, so always while sharing about others, what Prabhu is saying is share their good points. Avoid discussing and contemplating on the negative aspects. That is another aspect. I think we came up to this point, if I'm not wrong, right? For regulative principles, we have discussed offenses against the holy name. That's what we discussed.
Yes, Prabhu.
We attended Maharaj's class also. Yeah. So I want to continue here for the next section. So what are the four regulative principles? So first, before going into this, I just want to quickly recap. So there are four pillars of Dharma. Anybody remembers what are the four pillars of Dharma? Bhagavatam we have discussed. Yes, Sridhar Prabhu.
Yeah, mercy,
Mercy,
truthfulness,
truthfulness,
the two I forgot.
others can add also mercy, truthfulness.
Saucham,
Yes, Shaucham, cleanliness,
cleanliness,
and fourth,
Compassion,
kindliness,
mercy is compassion.
cleanliness. Okay, cleanliness.
Cleanliness is Shaucham. Then what is the last one?
Austerity.
Austerity. Yeah, correct. So Shaucham, Tapo, Daya, and Tapa. Tapa is austerity. So four regulative principles are, we discussed this very briefly yesterday in response to a question, that the four regulative principles are niyama or prohibitory instructions so that we do not violate the four principles of Dharma. If we violate four principles of Dharma, we essentially lead sinful lives. And if we lead sinful lives or if we violate this, we get influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, and it becomes difficult for us to make spiritual advancement. Spiritual advancement requires us to lead clean lives. So the more one is situated in Sattva Guna, the more one makes rapid spiritual advancement. So especially for those who are very serious about spiritual advancement, and especially for those who want to come to the point of taking spiritual initiation from a spiritual master and practice their spiritual life very seriously, they must work towards following these 4 regulative principles. Of course, those who are initiated, they are expected to be following these regulative principles at least for a year consistently, and then they are offered spiritual initiation. This is the ISKCON standard, this is the ISKCON requirement. Again, for the others who may not be following all these principles yet, this is just for you to familiarize yourself that this is the aspiration we have to work towards. Slowly, it's okay if we are not there yet. It doesn't mean that we become immediately disqualified. It's okay. You have to gradually work towards increasing the mode of goodness by avoiding sinful activities. So very summarily, the 4 regulative principles are no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. So no meat eating is to protect which dharmic principle out of the 4?
Mercy, Prabhu.
Yeah, daya or mercy. Which means a person who is a devotee who wants to advance in spiritual life cannot be, is supposed to love Krishna and love all living entities. How does it make sense for him to say, I love God and I love everybody and I will also cut and eat some of them and cook them and eat them? That doesn't make sense. So one works towards avoiding the consumption of meat. And this also is meat, fish, eggs, which means devotees generally will avoid, not generally, devotees avoid eating items which are not vegetarian, and also within items which are vegetarian, avoid those items which are too rajasic or too tamasic. So onion garlic particularly is avoided because it is more rajasic. Even though onion and garlic by itself is not sinful, it is not papa to eat onion, but it is not conducive to our consciousness to eat onion and garlic. And and to offer to the Lord, you do not offer items which are in the mode of passion. We offer only sattvic items. Almost all the tantras, what to speak of just worshipping Krishna, but even in the worship of devatas, those who are worshipping in a sattvic way, in most places and most temples, they will not offer anything which contains onion and garlic. So one should gradually work towards it. So I know various individuals who are coming to devotion maybe at various levels with respect to this principle. But my suggestion is, for those who are gradually working towards this, at least initially come to the point of becoming vegetarian. Means avoiding meat, fish, eggs, and then gradually work your way towards becoming fully sattvic in your diet. But I will strongly encourage everyone, whatever items which are vegetarian and without onion, garlic, please develop the culture in your home of offering the picture of Krishna, Radha Krishna. You can have a frame, offer it with love, and then eat prasad. When we start doing like that, it will help us come to a higher standard very fast. Any question on this point before I go to the next? On no meat eating? Any practical questions? Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prabhuji, like understand about non-vegetarian food. So once we start giving Krishna the offering food. So you said it should not have even onion, garlic. So basically, if we start to give Krishna, means you have to avoid even that, right?
Yes. So we should not offer to Krishna on a plate with tulsi, ringing the bell, food which has onion and garlic. So that is the right standard to follow. Because when we offer to Krishna, we want to offer to Krishna that which Krishna is pleased to eat.
Yeah.
So that is the standard. So then some people will ask, oh, what should I do? I may have put dal in one sabji. Sorry, I may have put onion in one sabji. So my suggestion in that case is offer those items from what you have cooked which do not have onion or garlic, and leave out the items which have. Of course, not ideal, but better than not offering. But if there are some items that we are eating because of whatever situation which has onion garlic, one can just pray to the Lord, say Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu mentally before one eats anything. Even though that is not technically offered prasad, at least it will protect us from the sinful reactions of eating food without offering.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what we keep in front of the Lord and offer with tulsi or ringing a bell should not have onion garlic. But if there is something, you cannot say, oh, because I cannot offer to Krishna, I'll just eat it without being grateful to Krishna. So we can still thank Krishna for whatever is the food in front of us, even if it is not directly offerable. And one can mentally offer it by folding one's hand and saying Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu 3 times.
Yes,
And
Prabhuji.
mentally offering it and then eating it. That is, at least that will ensure that we are not karmically implicated for whatever we are eating. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay. If there is no other question, I'll move to the next point. The next point is no intoxication, including liquor, tea, coffee, tobacco. So intoxication. So no intoxication. So the question is, intoxication violates which principle?
Austerity.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So one should avoid intoxication in all forms. Obviously, hard intoxication, even though drugs are not mentioned here, doesn't mean we can take drugs. So no drugs, no liquor. So these are very hard, sinful intoxications. But those who are very serious in their devotional practice are also recommended to avoid soft intoxicants. There are hard intoxicants and soft intoxicants. Even soft intoxicants condition the mind, like tea, coffee, and also tobacco. So these are also to be avoided, especially for those who are working towards initiation, should work towards this direction. Okay, any questions on no intoxication? Then no illicit sex. Which pillar of dharma does this violate?
Cleanliness.
Yeah, shaucham or cleanliness. So this means no physical relationships outside of marriage. One cannot be in a situation where, one is married but then is secretly staying with somebody else. Nobody knows. That is all. These are all very grossly sinful activities. No matter how one may justify these activities. And the highest standard is that ideally physical relationship should be indulged in for the purpose of producing Krishna conscious children. This is the proper use of physical relationship. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am that sex life which is not against religious principles. Dharma aviruddho kamosmi. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. The problem is not with the act of sex, the problem is with the purpose. The purpose is for producing children, and that too with the intention of bringing up the children to become spiritual practitioners. Then that is a service and not a materialistic activity. But when one is indiscriminate in one's physical intimacy, it actually results in material bondage. So one must avoid. And especially when it is outside the sacred relationship of marriage, then that becomes grossly sinful. And okay, any questions on this? So the last one is no gambling. So which religious principle this violates?
Truthfulness.
Yeah. So no gambling violates the principle of truthfulness. So no gambling means not to gamble. Of course, in the gross form, gambling can be playing in casinos. It can even mean massive speculation. So doing very highly risky activities, whether it is of financial nature or others, are come in the category of gambling. So gambling is of course not conducive because gambling puts oneself into great risk. It is a high anxiety activity. It is a very risky activity which can put one's life in turmoil and keeps one's mind in turmoil. It actually spoils one's ability to practice spiritual life properly. So these four activities of meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex should be avoided. And these are translated into four regulative principles. So if somebody asks you, where do these four regulative, where did ISKCON come up with these four regulative principles? Somebody asks you. The answer is the four regulative principles are based on the four principles of Dharma, which is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavad. So it is not a concoction of any society. These are all principles of religion. So Dharma stands on four legs. Dharma, bull. And if the legs of Dharma are broken, then Dharma collapses. So one must uphold the principles of Dharma. So if you are not dharmic, how can we become spiritual? Dharma is the basis of spirituality. So if we say, I will chant Hare Krishna, I will do everything else, but I am not bothered about meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. It's okay, I will chant Hare Krishna and counteract all these sins by the power of my chanting. What will you say about that? Anybody wants to comment? Somebody says, it's okay, I will chant Hare Krishna and I will counteract with the power of chanting Hare Krishna all these sinful activities. What is there anything wrong with this proposition?
We don't get the power properly, first of all, if we do this.
Will not get the power. Okay. What else? Anybody wants to add?
Hare
Yeah, Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Yeah, Suresh
Krishna will
first,
not
then
give that.
Sudhir Sundar Prabhu. Yeah, Suresh, yeah.
Krishna will not give the ability to chant.
Why? You can still chant. Krishna is not going to comment. Hold your mouth. Yeah, of course, those who are sinful, they will struggle to chant in that sense. But there may be some people who will say, no, I will chant. Whenever I eat non-veg, I'll chant 2 rounds extra to burn away the karma. What is wrong with that? Yes, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu knows the answer. So that's I was waiting whether others know.
Okay, Prabhu. Under the 10 offenses, one of the offenses using the what strength of the holy name to do sinful activities.
Correct. Namno balad yasya papa buddhi is one of the 10 offenses. Those who have a mentality that I will continue to sin, but chant the holy names to counteract it. Those who have this kind of a mentality and do like this are actually punished very heavily, even more than the karmic reaction, because that's a very offensive mentality. It is like using God to do sin. It's a mentality like the son of a minister going on doing crime, saying my father is the minister, who will do anything to me. That is a very offensive mentality. That is very displeasing to the Lord. So that mentality is punishable. Namno balad yasya papa buddhi. So one must not do that. Yes, if one is accidentally performed sin, then by continuing to chant the holy name, one will become free from all sins. But one should not cultivate the mentality or have the mentality that by chanting, I will remove the sin so I can continue to sin because I will counteract it. Okay, everyone, fine?
Yeah, Prabhuji, one doubt.
I'll quickly go through B and then I'll open the floor for any questions or whatever we will discuss. Yeah,
sure.
Suraj, let's just give me 2 minutes. I'll just go through B and then we can discuss. In general, devotees should avoid. These are other additional aspects which devotees should avoid. So, I'll go through the list first and then we will discuss. Watching commercial films, television and non-devotional videos, reading novels and other non-devotional works, reading magazines that deal with films, sports, politics, etc. Such activities, why are they to be avoided? Such activities will simply contaminate our consciousness and encourage us to violate the 4 regulative principles indeed. So essentially, any form of consumption, either through the eyes, ears, whether it's audio, video, verbal, gossip. Nowadays, most of the material which is available is very highly influenced by mode of passion and ignorance. And they will encourage us to break the regulative principles. So devotees generally avoid exposure to such passionate and tamasic activities. Okay, so I'm opening the floor. I'm just going to let me stop sharing. We have just a few minutes left. Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Suraj, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Regarding stock market, right? So can you clarify on that, Prabhuji? Because
What
someone who is
clarification?
regularly on stock market. So what does that mean? I didn't get that point.
No, so gambling is about speculative enterprise. So one avoids highly speculative enterprise. It doesn't mean that devotees cannot invest at all in stocks. That is not the point. The point is one should not indulge in very speculative trades. Rather, if one is properly doing research and doing long-term investments, either in stocks or mutual funds, having managed the risk well, then that is something which is okay. So, but one should avoid very high speculative transactions. So again, the reason is simple. Just think about it logically, where this is coming from, and if you understand where this is coming from, you'll be able to understand what is.
Mahabharata.
Yeah, that is one thing. Mahabharata, of course, was an extreme example which led to such chaos. But the point is that when we are engaged in very speculative activities, see, those who are engaged in very highly speculative activities, they are all the time disturbed because they're all the time worried. Oh, now this will go up, this will go down, this will be this. Oh, it went. Oh, I thought it will go up. Now suddenly, everybody was excited in the stock market. The Sensex is going up. Suddenly, Russia is going to attack Ukraine. In one day, stock market fell 3%. So I'm also invested in stock exchange, but I invest over the long term. I'm invested in mutual funds. So for me, even on one day, the stock market falls by 3%, 4% doesn't make any difference to me because I'm invested in the long run. You understand? So it doesn't bother me. It's not an anxiety. Daily movements are not an anxiety for me. But those who are doing intraday trading, those who are doing short duration transactions, they are subject to a lot of. So second to second, they have to see what is happening. Otherwise, they can face huge losses. There are people who have lost everything because of speculative trade. They have even had to sell their homes. So we do not want this kind of a situation. And stock is just one example. Any kind of speculative activity. Yes. Anything which is of such high risk that we are endeavoring that if things fail, it can severely disrupt our and our dependents' lives in a significant way is not good because it will also disrupt our spiritual life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, probably one more question. The generic question.
Yeah.
Is there any prayer we can pray before having food?
Prayer that we can pray. Yes, there is. So, yeah, thank you. I think this prayer is mentioned in this book also. The war breakout in Russia. My guess, the question is to me, I think. Okay. In the chat, I saw some question. I am hoping that there will not be war. Gangotri Mataji. So keep our fingers crossed. I do not know. But my personal belief is that will not happen. But let's see. Krishna is in control. And even if it happens, it will be a limited skirmish. I do not think it will break out into a world level conflict. Anyway, okay. So coming back, sorry, what was the question? What was the answering?
What was like? Is there any prayer we can
yes,
pray
yes.
before?
So yeah, so there are two prayers. One is the offering prayer, which I think you all know how we offer to the Lord, to the deities, Naivedya. And then before we consume the prasad, there is a prayer. So that prayer is a prayer to honor the prasad. Call it the Prasadam, honoring prayer. Right? There are two prayers. One prayer is to offer the Naivedya to the Lord to make it prasad. So those are the prayer mantras where we say the pranam to the spiritual master, pranam to Prabhupada, pranam mantra to Lord Chaitanya, and pranam mantra to Krishna. Each mantra 3 times. Yes? Yeah, you're familiar with that, right? Those are the offering prayers. Correct, Suresh?
Yes.
Offering prayers. Yeah, you're familiar with the offering prayers. Then there is the prasadam honoring prayers. So after we have offered, we have transferred, we have all sat down to honor the prasad. It has already become prasad. Now we are going to honor. Honor means eat. We don't say eat for prasad, we say honor the prasad. So when we are sitting for honoring prasad, there are 2 prayers which are recommended to be said. So one is and these prayers are actually glorifying the prasad and thanking the Lord for his kindness to make his prasad available to us. So the most common prayer is Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Swalpa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishwaso Naiva Jayate. I'll try to find the prayer and can somebody help me later to post it to the group?
Will do, Prabhuji.
Okay, with the meaning, the Sanskrit and the meaning are posted. And then there is another prayer. Sharira avidya jar jadendriya tahe kal chipe phele. Vishaya sagare tara madhye jiva ati. Lobamoya sudurmati. Take jita katina samsare Krishna vada daya moya karibare jibba joy. Swaprasadan dilo bhai sayan namrata pao. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gunagao Premida Koshi Chaitanya. This is in Bengali, but this is a prayer which Lord Chaitanya and his associates would sing. Thank Krishna, to glorify the nature of Prasad and the power of Prasad, and to thank Krishna for giving us the Prasad. So these are two our prayers. We'll have that practice of singing these prayers before we accept the Prasad.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
both the prayers you can post that, yeah? Minalji, both. With the translation. Okay, any other questions? Before I forget, tomorrow is the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Guru of Srila Prabhupada. It's a very auspicious day. Tomorrow also in Calcutta, there is a opening of a new ISKCON, you can call it a center. It's more like a museum cum center. It is at a place known as 1 Ulta Danga Junction Road. This is the place in Calcutta where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, whose appearance date is tomorrow, was staying for 14 years. 14 years. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is a very special, empowered Acharya who came down from the spiritual world to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement. He stayed there, and that is the place where Srila Prabhupada met his Guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, for the first time. And where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, as soon as he met Prabhupada, he gave him the instructions to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So that's a very, very special place. So ISKCON has acquired that place and they have developed it very nicely. So tomorrow is the formal opening ceremony of the 1 Ulta Danga Junction Road Center. They say this is where it all began. So the idea of ISKCON came about there because that is when Bhaktivedanta Saraswati told Prabhupada. So just imagine that one instruction, how seriously Prabhupada took that. He actually, it led to so many things. And our getting together here is a part of what has resulted from that. Of course, a very, very small part. There are so many things which are happening. We are here today because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told that to Prabhupada. Was it in 1921? I think. I do not remember very clearly the year. If anybody recollects, they can remind me. Was it 1921 or something where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati first interacted, both of them interacted in Kolkata. So tomorrow is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's appearance tithi. So it's fasting until noon. So just for those who are observing this, please take note. Yeah, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much. If you have any afterthoughts, if you have any questions or doubts on anything that we have discussed, if you feel hesitant to discuss it in public, especially questions with respect to 4 regulative principles, if you have a question with respect to your specific situation, how to handle it, what I should do, how I should manage, don't hesitate. You can ping me privately. Needed, we can talk and I'll be happy to serve you and guide in whatever way I can. Again, the point is don't be overwhelmed or scared by what we have shared. The point is not to scare you. When I first heard all these things, I was thinking, oh, I will never become like this. I will never be able to follow these 4 regulative principles. But of course, over time, by continuing to chant the holy name, continuing to associate with devotees, continuing to eat prasad, everything became simple and possible. So do not worry, do not be overwhelmed. Two things you should never stop, and all other things will come. What are the two things? Chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And studying the Gita and Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. If you keep these two things, Hari Katha in the association of devotees and chanting the holy names, all other things will automatically come in due course. Even if you cannot follow now, do not be overwhelmed. Continue the process and gradually, one by one, you can slowly move ahead. And in that way, you can increase your commitment to making advancement. And Krishna will appreciate very much when we sacrifice our materialistic attachments for his pleasure. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
See you on Wednesday.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Hari Bol, thank you.
Hare
Thank
Bol.
you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.